Namaskar. Manaache Shlok, Shloka 4. Manavasana tushtakamanaye re mana sarvatha papa buddhi nakore mana dharmata niti sodu nakoho mana antari saravichar raho. Jai Jai Raghuvir Samartha. To understand this shloka properly, let us take a look at Swami Chinmayananda's BMI chart. The Bhagavad Gita and this chart assert that, in essence, we are not the body that perceives objects, the mind that feels emotions, or the intellect that thinks thoughts. We are Brahman, the Supreme Consciousness, Om. But through countless lifetimes, layer upon layer of desires, karmas, memories, impressions, vasanas gather upon us, until we identify so wholly with the material aspects of our being that we forget who we truly are. And the thicker the veil of vasanas, the greater the forgetfulness. The greater the forgetfulness, the deeper the sense of lack, that void, that incompleteness. And then begins the great irony of human existence. We spend lifetimes searching for completeness in a world that is itself incomplete and impermanent. Come, let us break this down line by line. Line 1. Manavasana tushtakamanaye. Vasanas, the inexhaustible storehouse of impressions accumulated across innumerable lifetimes, that which stands between us and our godhood. A piercing equation I received during my Vedanta studies was God plus Vasana equals man. Man minus Vasana equals God. Take a look at the BMI chart again. Isn't that what it is saying? These vasanas lie buried deep within the causal body, the Karana Sharira, largely beyond the reach of conscious awareness. Yet, from that hidden reservoir arises the entire drama of the human body, mind, and intellect. Our first encounter with a vasana is usually not dramatic. It simply arrives as a thought, an inclination, a pull. And Swami Samartha Ramdas cautions the mind here. If that emerging tendency is dushta, destructive and misaligned with the life you are now consciously seeking to live, do not entertain it. Negate it ruthlessly, as Swami Chinmayananda would say. Line 2. Mana sarvatha papa buddhi nakore. Now this is important. Let us sit with it for a bit. In Vedanta, papa or sin is never defined as bad behavior in the moralistic sense people reduce it to. Papa is that which increases inner agitation, fragmentation, forgetfulness of who and what we really are. Papa buddhi means a way of thinking that repeatedly moves us away from the truth, away from our higher self. Anything that deepens the hypnosis that we are merely this body, this mind, this restless bundle of cravings, compulsions, and unfounded reactions, that is Papa Buddhi. Now notice something crucial here. There is no talk about committing Papa. Swami Samartha Ramdas is training the mind not to allow the Buddhi, the intellect, to become corrupted. Because the moment the intellect begins justifying what the conscience already knows is misaligned, the fall has begun. VTDA, the vicious cycle of character crystallization. From vasana arises thought. Engagement with the thought creates desire. Desire compels action. And every action further reinforces the vasana. Until we eventually say, well, this is just who I am. Despite their many attributions, the truth of these words is undeniable. Thoughts become words, words become actions, actions become habits, habits become character, character becomes destiny. And Swami Samartha Ramdas intervenes at the point where destiny first makes itself known as a thought, an erupting vasana. Line 3. Mana dharmata niti sodu nako ho. Anashritah karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha sasanyasi cha yogi cha na niragnir na chakriyaha. In chapter 6, verse 1 of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna defines the true spiritual practitioner, the true renunciate, as the one who does what must be done simply because it is right to do so. Bas, for no other reason. Definitely not because the ego approves of the outcome. Swami Samartha Ramdas flames the very same fire here. Do not break your inner axis. Because Niti dismantles the impediments. What will I get out of this? Or worse, what will people think? Niti is the refusal to betray what your conscience already knows to be true. It is the strength to remain anchored in dharma, what is right, even when desire, fear, anger, ambition, loneliness, exhaustion, or convenience pull you elsewhere. And that is why the shloka says, Sarvatha, at all times, in all circumstances. Because the mind is a master of justification. The Bhagavad Gita maps this collapse with terrifying precision in shlokas 62 and 63 of chapter 2. Thought becomes attachment, attachment becomes desire, desire when obstruct becomes anger, anger breeds delusion, delusion impacts memory, loss of memory destroys discrimination, and with that, the individual perishes. That resounding declaration of Krishna, Buddhi nashat pranashyati. Why? Because once the intellect becomes corrupted, we can no longer distinguish freedom from bondage, poison from nectar, ego from truth. That entire tumble begins the moment we start serving the stubborn impulses of an unrelenting mind. And Niti is compromised. And wait, Ramdas says, do not abandon Niti, meaning somewhere beneath all the conditioning, the compulsions, the performative identities, we already know when we are shrinking ourselves. We already know when we are acting beneath our own dignity. We already know when something contracts our being. That quiet knowing, that is Buddhi still speaking. Swami Samartha Ramdas says, protect it. Line 4. Mana antari sara vichara raho. The human mind is like a genie, incapable of stillness even for a moment. Left unguided, it gravitates towards the loudest impulse, the strongest pull, the lowest tendency. And remember, the Kauravas, the negative tendencies within us, are 100 in number. Darkness is always more aggressive in its recruitment, which is why the old warning has survived the ages. An empty mind is a devil's workshop. So yes, we may succeed in pulling out the weeds. We may restrain destructive impulses. We may prevent the mind from collapsing into old patterns, but that alone is not enough. Something higher must be planted in its place. That is why, after negate Ruthlessly, Swami Chinmayananda adds, substitute wisely. And this shloka echoes that very instruction. Plant sara vichar, thoughts that steady, refine, elevate. Because the same reservoir of vasanas that houses the Kauravas also contains the Pandavas, the noble tendencies within us, the urge toward self-restraint, the pull toward truth, the quiet longing for study, stillness, prayer. Gather these, seed these, nurture these until they become the inner climate of your being, because the garden of your mind eventually becomes the landscape of your life. 4 lines, 1 map. From the ancient storehouse of vasanas, countless impulses will rise. Deny the corrosive. Guard the intellect fiercely. Never let it surrender the driver's seat. In every circumstance, let your conscience remain your true north. Let the light within grow so bright that every shadow bows and leaves. Until next week, Krishnaya Arpanamastu.